What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 33 and the second to last part of my Total War Warhammer 3 Yuan Bo Immortal Empires campaign. So finale part 1, and as promised at the end of last episode, we have arrived only to one turn prior to the endgame scenario. The dragon siblings stand together, are ready to fight, and also Yuan Bo makes Jiao Ming look tiny. What the heck is this? Was it always like this? Why is Yuan Bo's like an ogre by comparison? He is literally twice Jiao Ming's size. Huh, interesting. I hadn't noticed that before. It might be because he's the lord of our faction, but it also might not. Maybe just an oversight, or I should say, ogre sight. Anyway, as we prepare for the endgame, there's a few things to do, but I've moved everybody into position. Ding Jun and Jishu are trying to hunt down Archaon, and the goal for the endgame will be to get every one of the new armies, and ideally every one of the old armies as well, a single battle in which to try out their new troops. These guys will primarily spawn around Jarnagrun, so we have 5 armies here, the Dragon Siblings, Long Yuan and his construct army, and Touche and her gun army. Should be some fun battles in the near future. Before we end the turn and proceed to the end game, though, and once again, I just want to point out that we're at turn 102, so the end game started one turn after the end of the last episode, so the only thing you guys missed really was me moving stuff around. Anyway, the interesting things that happened in those 10 turns. First of all, Kairos decided to break our non-aggression pact and our military access, and so I decided to declare war on him, ally militarily with the lizards, and then have them all join the war against Kairos. So as we can see, Kairos is about to have a whole lot of lizards on his plate, as well as the Bordello Errant, and it's not just Itza, but the last defenders as well. So yeah, I think Kairos is going to get destroyed without our intervention. Speaking of getting destroyed without our intervention, Malekith is basically done for. Mother Astankia and Nagaroth together have brought him down to only 2 settlements up in the north, and Altar of the Ultimate Darkness just got sacked, so I do believe Malekith should be done for. Probably within the next turn or two. Lovely, and I had never seen that happen before, as in I've never seen Malekith's faction destroyed, so an interesting change in the dynamics. Anyway, before we end the turn and proceed to the Will of Hashut, I believe is the name of the endgame scenario, we are going to do our Matters of State, so command the Lesser Courts, and that buff is going to be pledged to prosperity, as I mentioned when we first got this buff, plus 4,000 in defensive supplies. So if they attack any of our major settlements, they will, well, they're going to have a heck of a lot of towers to contend with between this and the War Compass, or the Compass in general, having been turned to the defensive supply one. Plus the Casualty Replenishment trade plus 10% won't go amiss either. Doctrine of Prosperity. Lastly, the other thing that I did between the episodes that took quite a while is I gave an item to every single lord and maybe about half the heroes. We did not have anywhere near the number of items needed to get one for every single hero, but you know, that's okay. It's not really necessary to have most heroes with items. In terms of the methodology for how the items were applied, however, generally speaking, I went for buffing and debuffing items on the alchemists. So Helms of Discord and Glittering Scales, anything that buffs allies or debuffs enemies essentially on them, because these guys are unlikely to be in actual combat and are free to do things like use the Cloak of Po-Mei and get that power recharge increase due to being out of melee, etc, etc, etc. Whereas the Astromancers on their War Compasses are much more likely to be in melee, and thus the items they got generally are a little bit more on the defensive side. Also, you should really be on the War Compasses on the defensive side, so trying to stack as much missile and physical physical resistance and melee defense as we can, because they are kept in the melee line. Otherwise, we have gotten a few new, somewhat interesting items that we didn't have before, and namely, it will be the Jade Blade of the Great Fleet, which is another regeneration blade, similar to the Von Karstein Blade, which is nice and has gone on to, and has been applied to, or given to Dingjun, I guess, our cavalry army. And then we got a Vermilion Blade as well, which enables flaming attacks, which of course went to Jishu and her fire army, because of course the lord of the fire army has to do fire damage. We also got a couple of, or a second Crackle Blaze, some more explosions, and a Spirit Chillin Spear, which gives us magical attacks, sundering attacks, and armor-piercing weapon damage and charge bonus. Quite a nice weapon as well, and is being held by Touche. Frankly, we got a lot of good items on pretty much every lord now, so pretty happy with that one. Anyway, I believe that's pretty much all I have to say about all this, so we're gonna skip, and end turn, and then start the big fights. I am extremely excited to see how the enemies fare. As we've seen, when the Chaos Dwarfs get their elites, being a fairly powerful faction, they can certainly give us a run for our money, so I'm expecting some damn solid fights here. No Queek Headtaker, we are not going to peace out with you, though we will not be destroying you. At least we won't be destroying you ourselves, because we'll be too busy with the endgame. I really hope that Kairos won't do that faction halt thing right now, because that'll be awful. That'd just be awful. Alrighty, the Will of Kashut, and hey, would you look at that? We actually got the right endgame scenario, unlike the Zatan campaign, where suddenly it was the wrong endgame scenario due to whatever bug happened. It was funny, but I'd prefer not to get screwed over like that again. Anyway, I'm gonna give this a quick read because, well, the game didn't want to read it. The Dark Father's will is made manifest. His servants must unite to exterminate the weakling races of the world, to exploit their meager resources and expand the borders of the Darklands. Zealous and cruel, the lords of Jarnagrund seize their opportunity to dominate the world. This destructive march of Chaos Dwarf industry must be stopped before it leads to ruination for all. Hey, ruination, that's my favorite kind of nation. I'm an idiot. Everybody join the ruination. Supervisor, Reichland Regional Power, ready for duty, somebody. Well, that's great for them, and there's that Confed. And what do we have army-wise? So 3 down here, and ooh, we got some Dreadquake Mortar Iron Demons. Very nice to see. A bunch of armies here, and then 4 items here with, of course, Gorth's ridiculous Iron Demon and Skullcracker Dreadquake Mortar Hyper Elite army. I am very excited to fight that one and all of these guys. So it should be 4 versus 3 and 3 versus 2. I think we can certainly manage. We do have another army out here for our flying army to fight as well, with lots of Infernal Guard and Infernal Ironsworn. We have another one spawning right here. And I guess we're gonna have to move through the drill to get to that one. And, no spawn in Lustria. And I guess we can't see here. There could be a spawn here, or there could not be a spawn here. It depends. Since we can't see it, we don't know. We would be able to see the Lustria spawn, so it's just not there. And I think that's all of that. No, there was another one up here. Oh, this one's going to be a problem. Well, I guess minus the fact that we'll just hunt it down through the drill. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? I think we're going to do this one first. I've really been excited to try out the Lead Belchers and the Gun Army, and the various Terracotta Sentinels and the Incarnate Elementals of Beasts. It seems like it would be a fun time. So, Touche. We're going to have you come in as a reinforcement, and let's say here, mostly because this army, with all of these Terracotta Sentinels, has the Vanguard deployment capability, which means we should be able to heavily damage, if not outright destroy, the first army for the second 2, or the second and the third, and get into combat. Alright, Long Yuan, you are going to also get your various types of standards. Let's put the standard of Wei Jin on you directly. We'll go for infiltrators on, I guess, the Oh, we can't give it to the Alchemist. Well, that's a shame. Wait, can we give it to you or no? No, it can only be a non-character unit. Poison attacks. Well, I guess we'll give it to one of the flyers. I mean, they're already going to be pretty fast, but it's not the worst thing. And then duelists, I guess we'll just give these to the drums. Mostly because I want... Oh, wait, the drums are unbreakable, so the immune to psychology would help, but frankly, pretty much this entire army is unbreakable anyway. And I don't want to remove the bonus versus infantry on the flyers. Great Longbow Riders are anti-infantry. Ah, wait. Huh, actually. They don't have any anti-infantry, so you are now 45, 20, and 15, and you are 45, 20, and nothing. Okay, so despite the fact that it says anti-infantry, it doesn't directly have a bonus, which would mean we'll probably use you to mob Bale Tauruses and Lamasu. Alrighty, that's about as prepared as we are likely to be. Valiant defeat and high casualties. That's what I like to see. Let's get to it.
Selfish, cowardly fools! Cathay's resolve shall overcome!
Alrighty, we face cowardly fools. Well, you gotta not be a coward to be commanding from a Sky Lantern, so I gotta give it to this guy. If anybody can call others out for being cowardly fools, it's one of these Sky Lantern commanders. Anyway, here we go. Ooh, Incarnate Elemental Beasts, and interestingly enough, kind of matching the color scheme. Very similar in many ways to our, well, the Lanterns and the Sky Junks up there, as well as the Terracotta Sentinels. And look at the glorious charge of said Terracotta Sentinels, except this one, which apparently got staggered by a shot from the Sorcerer Prophets. I didn't think that their guns were strong enough to stagger a bloody Terracotta Sentinel, but apparently they are. Anyway, here we go, charging into the first enemy army. We'll see how close we can come to destroying it before the second army or third army here arrive. Oh, there we are, and Incarnate Elementals of Beasts are going to be dishing out a lot of damage while we do all this, because they have that Mortis Engine effect of theirs, the permanent Flock of Doom. So they should be, as long as they're in the blob, dishing out tons and tons of damage. There we go, and they're pretty slow and ponderous by the looks of it, similar to our Terracotta Sentinels, but I do like watching all of these abilities go. And speaking of abilities, we also have our magical support in the form of our units of our Astromancers, all those free spells coming down. First the Ruinous Thunderbolts, and then afterwards the Comets of Cassandora as well. Looks like our Sky Junks are starting to take a little bit of damage from the enemy anti-air. Looks like we are able to pretty much rip apart a Lamasu with our Longbow Riders. However, the other Longbow Riders units, and this is the one that is anti-large on top of it, that we give bonuses, is not doing as well against the Bale Taurus. Combat is even here, which means the Bale Taurus will probably knock at least a few more models off if we let it, which means we're probably going to get it the heck out of there. Anyway, let's continue the fight here. Hey there, Mr. Elemental Incarnate, or Incarnate Elemental. Alrighty, some great shots already. And of course the Constructs doing their thing as well. There we go, very, very nice. And with the Sky Junks obviously firing down at the same time, we've got Comets of Cassandora are ready to come down. Or is that another Urnons? I think these are Comets. And yeah, there we go. And I do think that these Astromancers on their war compasses do fairly well in this particular army, simply because the enemy is forced to blob up around the massive numbers of construct / single entity monsters. All these two fighting together as well. They got each other's backs. Anyway, this army is in pretty bad shape by the looks of it, the first army, though we haven't come out of it unscathed. Both of our sky junks are down to about half HP and are certainly vulnerable, but they've also been dishing out the damage. 9,000 on you and about the same 9.4k on you. Otherwise, the enemy second and third army has arrived, and so has ours, and we've got a couple more sky junks and a couple of sky lanterns, as well as our lead belchers and other range units, which I'm excited to get in on the action as well. Though, of course, with the main army, our melee army, doing more damage, if we don't get enough playtime for the guns, we will probably get another battle going for them after. Anyway, you two, continue doing your work. I also want to point out that the Sorcerer Prophet has been dueling with the Lord Magistrate and his Sky Lantern for a while, and are both just doing tiny, tiny amounts of trickle damage to each other with their guns, which is kind of hilarious. Alrighty, and as the other armies move onto the field, our sky junks are switching their fire. We do get our dragon-blooded Shugungin Touche in on the action a little bit with her Flock of Doom, which is her bound ability, and we will continue supporting this with the fire rain coming in from the sky junks. There we go. Though we've seen plenty of fire rain rockets fire before. You know what, I really do like the concept of the fire, or the sky junks and the sky lanterns floating over the battle. It's just that they're so fragile when the enemy actually goes from, ooh, nice, mincing that Bull Centaur render, and mincing a few more by the looks of it. And it looks like this first army is nearly out of there. Some single entity monsters fighting each other as the Incarnate Elemental and the Terracotta Sentinel sends one of the enemy Bale Tauruses running, and it looks like this Bale Taurus is only a few hits from destruction. Now we're going to have to start moving down towards the main enemy blob as more and more enemy units arrive on the field, and it looks like the enemy will be charging towards our ranged army as well. Trying to get in there. The Hobgoblin rather. Wolf Raider is actually going into melee against the lead belchers, funnily enough, rather than using their range attacks. Probably the smart move rather than allow the lead belchers to fire, but we've got more lead belchers where that came from, so these ones will fire instead. Alright, get a few more shots in there. Try not to hit your own allies. And we got our Iron Hail Gunners firing down into the enemy as well. Beautiful. Alright, looks like that poor unit of Bull Centaur renders got absolutely ripped apart by the Iron Hail Gunners and the Lead Belchers before they could accomplish anything, and for now at least, this army is safe. And I do mean for now, as the enemy's additional reinforcements have moved onto the field, and it's the Iron Demons with the Dreadquake mortars that have arrived. We're going to need to really quickly target them with everything we've got. The aerial duel continues as our Dragon-Blooded Lord Touche is trying to fight the enemy Sorcerer Prophet in the sky, but we do got plenty of support in the single entity, so at least we're relatively okay there. Plenty of enemy Chaos Dwarf Warriors milling around under the Terracotta Sentinel, or Sentinels rather, and the Incarnate Elementals as well, and now we've got lots more guns firing from the air, with the addition of the other Sky Junks and Sky Lanterns moving closer and continuing to dish out the damage. Alright, Lead Belchers firing as well, and it looks like enemy units that are approaching the gun line are melting away before they can accomplish anything as well. Especially with the summons of the Ancestral Warriors used to help out when needed. Do have to be careful about these enemy units of Dreadquakes, but they will go down reasonably quick under fire from various things. The first one's being focused down by our 2 units of Grand Cannons, and it looks like it will be blown up fairly quickly. And the second one will soon be targeted by Lead Belchers and by Crane Gunners as well, who are moving forward to begin firing on it. There we go. Alright, Lead Belchers, it's your time. There we go, I just wanted to hear them fire, and that's a big volley. A single volley from 2 units of lead belchers taking about half HP from that Iron Demon. We've also got spell work coming in as enemies try to charge our gun lines, but we'll have to charge through some chain lightning and fire rain. As they do, it looks like they will make it towards our fire, not our fire rain rockets, our Iron Hail gunners there. But at least one of the units will be countercharged by Great Longbow Riders, and oh wow, they actually managed to bring a few of those Longbow Riders down. Great job to them. But it won't be enough as they all get sent running, and it looks like most of the enemy, in fact all of the enemy, will begin to run, and the battle will be ours. The last of the Dreadquakes will fall, and it looks like no enemy units are unbreakable, so the battle is ours. Fantastic. Oh, look at that poor Bale Taurus try to run away. Actually, you're just a great Taurus. I couldn't even tell. It was so covered in blood that it was unclear which particular unit it was. Anyway, there we go. A glorious battle. Only 6 minutes long, but obviously that's twice as long as a standard battle time. So still pretty darn good. Didn't quite get as much mileage out of the guns as we would have liked, but we did get a little bit screwed by the terrain as we had to cross over the hill before they could fire down on the enemy, and the enemy reinforcements moved onto the field a little bit faster than we'd like. Nonetheless, the Terracotta Sentinels rather did all the work. And the Skyjunks did plenty as well. We got 169 damage and over 20k damage on you, for example. 209 kills and 26k damage. Alright. Don't underestimate the Skyjunks. They can certainly, if not on par, work with the Fire Rain rockets. Can be very close. Very nice. Anyway, we're going to do our best to chase down any enemy that we can, because we will otherwise have to take our time destroying these guys. But we should be okay. I love the claw marks that or I guess these aren't claw marks, they're from the glaive that these guys wield, but yeah. I do like that they leave imprints in the ground is what I'm saying. Anyway, there we go, a close victory and a heck of a first blood for the endgame scenario. Alrighty, what a glorious fight. Damn, did I enjoy that one. And we got to try out a decent amount of our new units. The Incarnate Elementals did clean house damage-wise, very much out-damaging the Terracotta Sentinels. Well, hardly surprising, considering they have a Mortis Engine effect. And man, it now makes me really want to play either an undead faction or possibly even a Kislefite faction, and ally the two together. Combine the permanent Flock of Doom from the Incarnate Elemental Beasts with a bunch of Mortis, well, maybe not a bunch, but several Mortis Engines for an absolutely massive amount of Mortis Engine effect, and then with the appropriate debuffs as well, and this could be pretty darn massive. Certainly something to think about. I do love my Mortis Engine effect. Anyway, it looks like most of the enemy armies have been very heavily damaged. Obviously, we couldn't chase down most of the flyers, but that's hardly surprising. Tuche's army is mostly fine. I think we'll send this army through the drill to hunt another enemy army down, because I feel like this army did the lion's share of the work for that particular battle. We can't heal, apparently, which is kind of stupid, but what can you do? I guess we'll execute the captives then. Or maybe the game just really wants us to execute, well, the captives, which also does make sense, to be fair. Anyway, these guys are gonna move away, such as they are. And just out of curiosity, upkeep reduction for Terracotta Sentinels, huh? I didn't know that was a thing, but nice to have. And another standard of Wei Jin. Well, touche, I think you've earned it. We should be able to auto-resolve the remnants of this army, but I would like to move Touche away in case, well, I'd rather her not auto-resolve or not, and get damaged further by the auto-resolve. And, oh, wait, never mind. The Chaos Corruption has dropped here so that we're not actually suffering attrition here anymore, which means we're fine. Move up here. And let's just hope that well, then again, the other stuff really doesn't like lead belchers. You know what? No, you just move away. You just move away right there. Then we'll send you to destroy this, and we'll send somebody else to destroy the remnants of those other armies. So, after Erish Kagel first scare, and no, hopefully you can do this without auto, well, while auto-resolving. And, okay, good. Nobody will die like this. And let's see the damage on us. Let's see the damage on us. Well, let's see, thank you. And once again, we can't heal. Unfortunate, but what can you do? Free Dragon Helm, that's one of the worst items. We'll stay here and we'll channel a little bit, and then we'll see what we can see. Now, as for the 3 siblings versus the 4 full stacks, especially this one, I think we'll leave that to the next episode. Mostly because I feel like that's the finale battle, and I really feel like that battle should be in the, part 2, the finale. We'll send Touche not through this drill. I'm gonna send her through one of the drills to get a fight. Is it this drill? Oh, maybe we should ally with these guys just to be able to see whether there is somebody to attack here. But, okay, you know what? We know that there's an army here, and you are all the way up here. Okay, so that's a little bit of a travel, and then what about you? Where's the other drill? Assuming that we can't get Olethanar to kill you, which we'll check in a second. You're about the same distance away. Okay, so first of all, Olethanar, let's see if we can't get you to attack the Overlords of Jarduk. Join war against Overlords of Jarduk, and minus 38. Okay, that's not going to happen. We'll have to send somebody through the drill then. Alright, Touche, you got things to do. Now, in terms of what other battle we can fight right now, assuming that we'll save Archaon, and yeah, we'll probably save Archaon for the finale as well, assuming he doesn't die before then, I guess we'll do the Flying Army battle now. Alright, well then, Hong Luo Mai, it's up to you, and the Skyjunks did pretty darn well in the previous battle. I don't expect them to do poorly in this one. Let's away. You better not run. And run you shall not. Pyrrhic victory, eh? We shall see about that. Gotta be careful with the Onyx Chroman, but otherwise, I'm reasonably confident in this. We will put the... we'll put the standard of evasion on... Well, you know what? We'll put the Scarecrow banner on Hong Luo. I actually gave her all of the debuff things for enemy air units, so these poor 3 Great Tauruses are going to have a very bad day. The Featherfoot Torque, plus the Scarecrow banner, plus the Pigeon Plucker pendant, plus the Glittering Scales is just going to be a massive amount of debuffs, and the Standard of Evasion, if we can do it. Let's put it on one of the Royal Hippogriff Knights. And then I guess, what's their leadership at, by the way? 80. It's actually a little bit lower than I'd like. You know what? Let's do this then. Standard of Evasion instead on one of you, and then we'll put the leadership buffs on the 2 Royal Hippogriff Knights. Don't want those routing as we'll need them. Well, here we go. Round 2. Alrighty, here we go, the Flying Army, and what will the enemy do about all this? I have no idea, probably nothing much, to be perfectly honest. Also, I like how the capes and the barding of a decent amount of the Hippogriff Knights does seem to match the Frostguard Phoenixes, so this is a nice little sort of matching pile of units. It doesn't, well, they don't match the Longma, but that's okay, because, well, we had the Arcane Phoenixes in Jishu's army, so that's just fine. Anyway, first of all, we will be targeting the enemy flyers, which there are 4 of, counting the enemy lord, and then afterwards we'll let our Skyjunks go to work, which I guess they're already starting to do so. Anyway, charge that enemy lord with all the debuffs on him, and let's see, just out of curiosity, so down to 27, 38, 45, all those anti-air debuffs on Hong Luo will be very difficult to deal with, especially with those Royal Hippogriff Knights. Alright, a little bit of an air contest, but it probably won't last very long. The enemy lord already nearly done for as it gets absolutely ripped apart. Alright, and did you already fall? There goes the Llamas. Okay, now he's fallen and on to the Taurus up here. While this Taurus is getting fought, the other ones have been caught by the other set of units that have peeled away and are now going to get surrounded by the Longmar Riders as well. Got to establish that air superiority so that we can essentially destroy the enemy at our leisure with the Skyjunks. Alrighty, and how are these guys doing? Yeah, pretty much just as badly. The Great Tauruses are done as well. Alrighty, and just like that, no more aerial units remain for the enemy to actually do anything with, which means the Skyjunks can simply sit around and destroy the enemy as they please. There is absolutely nothing the enemy can do anymore. The battle, you could already say, is ours. And we're going to use the Skyjunks to destroy the enemy infantry and such, and then once the infantry are all done for, since the Skyjunks will not be particularly effective at destroying enemy monstrous units, then we'll land our other units to deal with them. Although the Skyjunks do have their secondary form of fire as well, like the Sky Lantern, the gunners on top of them. So they should still be able to do some damage to enemy monstrous units, so there's still that. I wonder what the amount of damage the gunners on the Skyjunks do compared to like a Sky Lantern. If it's just like the same amount of damage, because that would be a little bit unfortunate. As in, it would be just completely an upgrade. Which is very much possible, but I have never looked into that. Anyway, just trying to get into position, and of course fire in every direction with the guns, and then we can fire the fire rain rockets as well. This is so mean. Once again, this just feels like bullying the AI because they can't do anything about any of this. They're just milling around. And a drop and a bomb from our Skyjunks as well. I guess they don't have that Titanic impact ability or tendency or buff that they get in SFO. Actually, I actually don't remember whether the Skyjunks actually have that in SFO, but lots of bombing units do, so. Man, we can see the gunners just sniping the occasional unit away, which I gotta appreciate as well. And where are you guys going? Alright, Skyjunks just getting into position together so that they can fire down on the enemy. And this is just cruel. And those poor Chaos Dwarf Warriors, all that training going to waste because they can do nothing about the Skyjunks floating overhead. Especially a shame because the Chaos Dwarf Warrior, or the Chaos Dwarfs rather, and do generally have some pretty solid aerial units. And would thus be able to actually knock these things out of the sky if we weren't prepared for it. And of course, this army is also fairly light on enemy anti-air in the form of like fire glaives and artillery and really anything that could knock these guys out of the sky. A Death Shrieker rocket turned to the single target ability would be able to break the Skyjunks so quickly. And same with a unit of fire glaives, but alas, the enemy does not have them. I think there was a single unit of hobgoblin archers and a couple of units of raiders, but we just destroyed them very quickly, and then no more problems, basically. Honestly, not much to say about this battle from a tactical perspective, just enjoying the spectacle of the Skyjunks doing their thing. Very different from the last battle, where the Skyjunks were both threatened by the enemy air and firing into much bigger blobs of infantry, while the said blobs of infantry, well, blobbed up around our own units. But nonetheless. Now this does echo the early portions of the campaign a little bit more, I think, where the gunners of various kinds, whether it was the Grand Cannons or the Fire Rain rockets, had destroyed so many enemies before they could actually move into the fray. Now this is kind of similar to that. There we go, and how's that balance of power looking? About 80-85% in our favor. And yes, we're going to continue doing this. It's completely necessary. And it does tickle me. Plus, we'll probably only get one battle out of this army, so we might as well leave it to do this. And yeah, I do notice that the gunners have knocked out a few of the monstrous units as well. I've seen a few of the Centaur Renders drop, Chaos Dwarf Warriors dropping periodically as well. So it's not only AoE that these things will do. Alrighty, how are we looking now? Bounce power continues to creep forward, and now we're just going to dare the enemy to come towards us. Hongluo has landed, and if they want to come forward and charge, well, they can feel free to do so. There we go. Alrighty, and very nice hit. First hit knocking, what, 3 or 4 of the Wolf Raiders down. And as the Wolf Raiders move in, they get surrounded by the Royal Hippogriff Knights and the Phoenixes as well. And they go from full HP to basically no HP in a couple of seconds. There we are. Oh, that poor unit. Yeah, absolutely decimated. Alrighty, and the rest of the enemy army is still having a bad day. Here comes some Centaur Renders. Yes, sure, you want to fight a Royal Hippogriff Knights. I feel like the Centaur Renders are used to being bigger than most of the foes they face off against, but the Hippogriffs are just too scary, and these guys will get brought down. And as the Centaur Renders run, the Chaos Dwarf army, seeing those units that are blessed by Hashut get destroyed like that, will all shatter, and the battle will be ours. Cathay Fireborn, of course, are going to be unbreakable, so we will have to destroy them, but I don't think we'll have too much trouble with that. A little bit of ice and fire here as the Frostheart Phoenix leads the charge of the Hippogriff Knights. And it's a matter of dousing these flames, which should be happening pretty quickly. Alrighty, and here come the Longmar Riders. They were a little bit busy chasing a few of the enemy units down as they ran, but with their charge, the enemy's Cathay Fireborn get destroyed, and the battle is completely ours with basically no casualties. I think a few of the crowmen died, but it wasn't even enemies that killed them. It was the gunners from the Skyjunks knocking them out. Which is a little bit interesting. In fact, I actually told the Skyjunks to stop firing, but I feel like they continued to fire their gunners. Or maybe it was just a few other stray shots. But anyway, easy little fight. Air superiority as always. Absolutely disgusting. Man, I expected that to be pretty ugly. Maybe not that ugly, but ouch. Poor AI got absolutely wrecked there. They could really do nothing. Flying armies do tend to be extremely strong against the AI. And I see how this flying army is certainly able to do things that flying armies that I built in previous campaigns have not, because of the Skyjunks. So we have flying artillery in addition to the regular flyers, which is quite interesting. Just to sort of compare it to the Tic-Tac-Toe army I had in my Krok-Gar campaign, wherein that was, well, a lot of damage was out of the Fire Leech Bolas and the Pterodon Riders, but they really could have used the Skyjunks as well for a little bit more, or maybe we could have used some of the Fire Leech Bolas in this army. In fact, they probably would be more useful here than the Crowmen are, because here the Crowmen serve the same purpose as the Ripperdactyls did in my Tic-Tac-Toe army in that campaign, because, well, really they're only good for chasing. So anyway, army is destroyed. Lovely little fight, and I'm glad we're seeing plenty of use for the Skyjunks over in the end game here. Let's make sure that this army is destroyed for good. And unless I'm mistaken, Hongluo, you will no longer be needed for anything, as that was the only army here. And just in case, we'll probably send you through the drill in case we want to maybe get you to somewhere else, just in case. For example, we could send her, traverse, we could send her down through this drill just to see if there's anybody there. And if there is, destroy them. And if there isn't, well, at least we won't have wasted an army that hasn't had a chance to fight yet. Anyway, with that, I'm going to call the episode here. Next time we go 4 versus 3 in a massive battle and the finale episode. And that'll pretty much destroy the forces around Jarnagrund. And then all that will remain is to try to hunt down Archaon or one of his other armies if he's too cowardly or if he dies, and get both of these armies into a battle somewhere, plus to finish off this guy over here, probably with 2 Che's gunnery army. Anyway, stay tuned for one more episode of Yuan Bo, very sudden endgame as it is. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.